Hey ladies and gentlemen, Tone Fernandez here. Today we're going to be talking about why small businesses need life insurance. A lot of times with small business owners, they have, the benefits that they would have at a job. It's all up to them, it's all up to themselves. So as a business owner, what you have to do is you have to make sure that there's several things that you have in order to protect your business. And today, guys, I want to talk about those things that you have to protect, because a lot of times business owners don't think about those things, right? We only think about, hey, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna hustle, but we don't think about the what ifs. And as a business owner, one of the things you have to understand is there's a lot of people depending on you, because you're at the focal point. Not only is it your family, not only is it your business, not only is it your employees, there's a lot of people within that circle that you have to protect. It's not just about you anymore. And that's one of the things about being a business owner that most people don't understand, right? The people who have the job, they just show up, get what they need done, and they go home and provide for their family. But as a business owner, you have to provide for your family, you're providing for your business, the entity itself, and then you're providing for your employees. So today, guys, I want to talk about different angles on protecting your family, your business, and your employees. Now, when it comes to your family, the first thing I want to talk about is the income that they will miss, God forbid something happens to you. We don't think about that because typically most people come from a job background where, hey, if I pass away, they're going to give my family 1 or 2 years of my salary. But as a business owner, you don't have that choice. So the first thing that you want to do as a small business owner is say, okay, I provide for my family. How many years of my income am I going to leave behind for my family? So that's the first aspect of protecting your family, and as far as becoming a business owner or being a business owner, is how many years of my income do I want to leave behind? The second way you want to protect your family is say, hey, if something were to happen to me and I have, I'm in this business, I have other partners, what's going to happen to the legacy of my business? Is it going to go to my family, or is that going to go on to my other business partners? Because what happens is, upon your death, God forbid something happens to you, there's going to be a point where your family is either going to have to fight for your business, or you laid that out for them. Do you guys even want the business? So while you're alive now, you want to ask those questions to your family. Hey, are you capable of running this business? If not, let's have a succession plan. God forbid something happens to me where the business is transferred to somebody else. So you want to make sure that you protect your family, because if you are the breadwinner, you're out there growing the business. Let's say you're a mother or a father and your spouse is at home taking care of the kids and you're running the business. That loss of income and loss of a business, both of those things, is catastrophic for a family. So as a business owner, you want to make sure that you plan that. The second thing is the entity, the business itself, right? A lot of times we see that when a CEO dies or when a founder dies, so does the business, unfortunately. And the reason being is, most CEOs and people who own businesses, they think they're going to live forever, and they don't even plan, they don't even think about the inevitable happening. So you have to ask yourself that question. Do I plan on my business continuing without me? Do I want my business to thrive and survive even if I'm not around? So the second thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you legally write down what happens to your business, in case something happens to you. Who are going to be the people that take over your business? Is it going to be a key employee? Is it going to be, your significant other, or maybe one of your children who are old enough? Or is it going to be maybe another business partner? Or are you maybe going to sell it to a competitor? And the reason why that's important is that entity that you run, you may have several employees that they rely on that. They rely on the income from that job. And if the business were to just shut down, it could be devastating to multiple families. So you want to make sure that you plan what's going to happen with my business. God forbid something happens to me, right? How is my business going to be impacted? And you want to make sure that you do that legally. So it's important that if you're running a business, that you have legal counsel, a business lawyer on your side, so you could draw up some contracts. Hey, here's the things that I want, or can you put this in writing? So the second impact is your business. What do I want this entity to do? Do I want it to end with me, or do I want it to continue? And then the third one is your employees. Like I mentioned before, what is your plan? God forbid something happens to you. What's your plans for your employees, right? Because if you are the one that does everything, you do the payroll, you do, the bookkeeping, you do everything, and God forbid something happens to you, then that means there's a bunch of people that are not going to get paid on time, or not going to get paid at all, or the business even shuts down altogether. So what you want to do is you want to map all this out, and it can be confusing for most business owners. When I sit down with business owners, they have so much on their plate. The small business owner who's, just starting to get employees, or, just starting to make decent profit, doesn't have all the capital to hire everybody to do everything, so they're hands-on. And a lot of times thinking about the protection of the business, protection of my family, protection of my employees can be overwhelming. And a lot of times when I sit down with people, they just don't even want to think about it. What I would recommend is you don't have to think about it. Just let somebody analyze your business and let an expert come in and let them look at your business and say, okay, these are the areas that you have possible leaks. You know, if this and this happens, you know, we were sitting, I was actually talking to a business owner not too long ago, and he said, hey, can you do a free analysis for me where you just take a look at my business and tell me, where are some possible leaks? And I took a look at his business. He didn't have any partners, so he was good there. But the majority of his income that was coming in was to provide for his family. And if he were to get sick, God forbid cancer, a stroke or something, he can't work, his business was going to fail, and that's the income for his family. So I told him two things. I said, hey, you're at a point right now where your business is growing. You just need to protect your income in case you get sick. And you also need to protect your business, that income for your family, in case you pass away. And those simple things he didn't realize, because he thought because he didn't have a job or work at a fancy corporate job that he wasn't able to cover himself if he were to get sick. And once I told him that, it was like a weight lifted off his shoulder and off his chest. He's like, wow, so you mean to tell me, because that keeps him up at night. And he's like, you mean to tell me that if I get sick, that I have money coming in, I'm good? I said, yeah, you're fine. And after analyzing that business and giving him that information, he's now protected in case something happens there. We have other businesses where we take a look at where there are multiple business owners. They have 2 or 3 business owners there. And I asked them one simple question. What are you guys going to do if, God forbid, something happens to one of the partners here? And a lot of times they just look at each other like, I don't know. And what happens, painted the picture, what typically happens is, other partners fight. Families come in and say, hey, I want that share of the business that my spouse who passed away left behind. And it gets ugly. It's a legal battle. It's a lot of money spent on unnecessary legal things when you could have set something up to where it's already mapped out, an agreement legally written down where all the partners know what's going to happen next. So if that were to happen in case of an illness, that in case one of the business partners is incapacitated, everybody is operating as usual. There's no worry about what's going to happen. God forbid one of the partners passes away, they can mourn in peace while the business is uninterrupted. And then we have other scenarios, where I took a look at a business. There was a sales business. They had these stellar employees. And when you broke down their sales team, there was 2 or 3 of those sales reps who were doing like 80 to 90% of the sales for that entire company. And I asked the business owner, I said, what happens if those 2 employees, God forbid something happens to one or even 2 of them, how are you covered? And he's like, what do you mean? I said, imagine this. Imagine, the Lakers, they go get LeBron and they don't get insurance on him, right? LeBron is supposed to bring all this capital, sell all these jerseys. He's supposed to bring all these tickets, but then LeBron is sick or God forbid something happens to him. Well, the Lakers best believe they have coverage on LeBron just in case. So small businesses can do the same thing. You have some studs, you have some stars on your team that need to be protected. God forbid something happens, so your business is covered. Because what happens, what we notice is that it can cause a trickle effect and it can cause a downward spiral for your business if something were to happen to a key employee. We've seen scenarios where key employee passes away, the other employees know, hey, he's a big part of the revenue in this company, and then the confidence of the team goes down. If you have shareholders, they're looking at you like, should we pull out? And all of a sudden, that business goes into a downward spiral till it fails. And this what happens to a lot of businesses in that momentum phase, right? You have the different phases of business are when you're starting and you're in survival mode. Then all of a sudden you pick up and you have momentum, and then you kind of coast with that momentum. Well, from the point of where you start to the point of where you kind of coast with that momentum, all these things can happen. We've seen businesses on their way up, and all of a sudden they disappeared because these scenarios weren't covered. So what you want to make sure is that as a small business owner, if you're watching this, you want to protect your business in those 3 scenarios or those 3 areas you want to protect is your family, because you're the business owner. You're likely doing this for them. You want to protect the entity so the entity can continue no matter what happens. And then you want to protect your employees because it's the right thing to do. You have these people who wake up every day to go work at your company, and God forbid something happens, you don't want to show them that you were irresponsible, that you didn't have it covered. You want to make sure that they're still good, that their families they're fine, and they're not impacted negative. If you want to learn the how to, I told you the what, like what is this stuff, and what to look out for if you're a small business owner, I actually have a link in the description of this video where it's actually a 20-minute webinar. It's a business protection webinar where I go into how to set these things up for your business, what exactly are they using life insurance, what are the tools that you can use, and how you can do that. Go ahead, click the link in the description, and it's just a free 20-minute webinar that you have access to. And if you have any questions after that, feel free to connect with me. And if you know some business owners in your network, you have maybe a lot of small business owners, share this video with them, because this can be impactful in their business dying or thriving. So I appreciate you guys for jumping on. If you're a small business owner and you're watching this and maybe we're not connected, feel free to hit that follow button and connect with me. Appreciate you guys. As always, your success is important to me.